next day. So the community here has actually been home to many famous painters and writers as well. Anyone heard of Hans Christian Andersen? Yeah, so wonderful. Now it lies at the northern tip of Denmark, right there at the top there, and you can also see Copenhagen just down kind of southeast of there as well. Now we're going to be docked at berth number 9. So I've just popped berth 9 down here, which is just here. You'll be able to see all of the different numbers in the circles, all different kind of points of interest in the area itself. It's a beautiful walk through the history of the area as you walk into town. Lots of information for you. There's tourist information at the pier. There's city maps available at the pier. There's signs with directions between the quay and the town itself. There's not a public transit system or a hop-on, hop-off service from what I know as a private thing to book. You can't get Uber here, you can't get Lyft here or anything like that, just because as a pre-warning. It's a very active business port. It's got the status as the biggest fishing port in Denmark, and that really is kind of the main source of income in this area, as well as obviously tourism itself. So the former fishing village here, it's distinguished. It's got the low yellow houses, the red tile roofs. They're nestled into the beach areas itself. There's a good number of local restaurants and shops here. It's got a wonderful character of it as well. There we go, and as you walk along the streets, along the seafront promenade itself, you do see all of these wonderful, wonderful houses that kind of are very distinctive of this area. Now, St. Lawrence Street, Harbour Street, there's some areas that if you did want to go shopping, they're walkable from where we're docked itself. You're going to find some souvenirs there, some restaurants, cafes, that kind of thing as well. And the streets in town are pedestrianised. You can see it's kind of very flat, it's very accessible for everyone as well. Slightly different to the old town in Stavanger, okay? The town hall here is a couple of blocks behind the harbour. It's a good landmark to start any kind of tour from if you wanted to just tour around yourself for the day. You've got the Seamen's Church, which is only a block from the town hall itself, okay? And the harbour itself was a very important base for Swedish fishermen in the early part of the last century. And the church was built here so that they could worship in their native language and their native customs whilst they were working away from home. So that is why you'll find the Swedish Seamen's Church in Denmark here, which is very interesting. And in a very Scandinavian clean design there as well. There's a cafe nearby, so if you wanted to visit this, you could get a nice little refreshment as well. About a block further, you'll find a museum. There's plenty of museums in this area. So the 19th century writer, painter and poet who was born in Copenhagen, closely associated with the small fishing town that we're going to visit though. So he purchased this house, moved here in 1902, and this was only 6 years before his death, and then the house itself was preserved as a memorial. It contains collections of his own paintings and other artists. There's exhibitions about his life. There's a museum shop here as well, so wonderful. And actually when you're looking around this area, you'll notice why so many artists and poets and artistic people were inspired by the landscape here. Now, about 400 yards further west, you've got the City and District Museum. So there's an open-air exhibition here with buildings from different periods in the town's history itself. There's exhibits on fishing here, emergency sea rescue, shipping, and this was established in 1927. So again, a great look into the history of the area itself. And then if you continue past the open air museum, you follow a path into a wooded area. This is about half a mile further, you find the buried church. So this was built in the late 14th century. It was once the biggest church in this region, but as time went by, sand began to bury the church. In 1795, they gave up the battle against the sand and the church was then closed. The main part of the church, some of it was torn down, some of it's still buried, and today only the tower of the church still remains above the sand, which is quite interesting itself. Now in the opposite direction from the town hall, you've got the other church itself, which is more of a modern building. This one not buried in sand, you can see the whole thing here. And this one was built to take place of the other one itself that had kind of been buried. So they created more of a modern church that is walking distance the other side of the town hall. Now, artist Michael Anker lived in the hotel in this area for 4 years, married another artist, Anne, as well, and they were among some of the most famous artists that lived in this area itself. They bought their dream house in 1884, and when their daughter died in 1964, she actually left the house itself to the surrounding area in the city, and they have also turned this so you can go and visit this as well. You can see some wonderful pieces of artwork by these fantastic artists. The local museum, so during the late 19th century, early 20th century, a colony of artists, and we've spoken about a few of them, really moved from Copenhagen, came to this area, and they emulated that French Impressionism style. And as I said, when you are exploring this area, you're going to see why they were so impressed and inspired by the town itself. The museum opened in 1928. It houses an extensive collection of artworks from different artists that have lived here, have visited as well. Now, if anyone wants to take home a nice little present, there's a teddy bear museum. Well, it's a museum, so you can't take them home. But if you wanted to go have a little look, it's actually a private collection. It's Denmark's only museum dedicated exclusively to the teddy bear. So you can learn about the history of one of the most enduring popular toys here. The Danes were incredible toy makers. So quite an interesting look into the history there as well. The museum does have a shop where you can get quite, high quality handmade Danish teddy bears there, which I think is quite wonderful. I might pick one up for my niece. She's 3.5 weeks now, so maybe she needs a teddy bear. However, my 2-year-old niece hates the new niece. I bought them 2 teddies, and my mum sent me a video, and she's got both of them, and she said, "Do you want to give this one to Imi?" And she's like, "No." Great, they're getting on really well. Maybe I'll get them both teddies. Now, if you're getting hungry, head back towards the harbour area, surrounded by old fishing houses. The area very well known for its fish, for its fresh cooked shrimp in particular. So if you wanted to try something, maybe some fresh cooked shrimp. There's many places to dine in town, get some kind of international cuisine. You've got Jacob's Cafe and Bar. They've got a lot of different cuisines there. You've got sandwiches and steaks. There's a lot of different variety of drinks here as well. So if you're really into seafood, check out definitely the ones on the harbour itself, because they're going to have some fantastic options for different fresh seafood for you. And the last thing that I will kind of move on to for this port, moving further north, so obviously you'll see kind of the area where we're docked down in the bottom left. You've got the area right at the top here, the northernmost tip of Denmark. It gives you a very good perspective of the town and its surroundings from here. How built up it is here and how kind of vast it is at the top. You can, if you want to access up the top, I'll kind of explain why you would go there in a moment. It's about 4 kilometers away. So technically you can walk it if you wish. You can cycle. Cycling is fantastic in this area. Bike rentals are readily available when you get off of the port. But as you do head up there, it is where the Baltic Sea and the North Sea meet. And it's extremely picturesque as an area. And there's also a sand spit right at the tip. And it's very popular for people to go to. Now, if you do walk all the way up there, from the main car park to the spit itself is about another 25-minute walk, or they sometimes put on a tractor trailer, which then carries people across the sand to this area as well. And it's an area where you can put your feet in both the North Sea and the Baltic Sea at the same time. It might be a little chilly, but it could be very invigorating. Do be careful of the strong currents here, as you can see. Probably don't go swimming here, but if you did want to take a walk along and know that you've put your feet in both the seas, it's quite a popular main drag for the area. And if you do take the walk along the beach, you're going to see there's a lot of World War II era German bunkers that are dotted along the landscape and along the higher dunes here. And there's a bunker museum, which is a short walk from the main car park area as well. So it really is quite a day trip out. You can reach the area by taxi if you wish. Taxis are available in the main port where we're docked, but they're not hugely regular, okay? So I kind of wouldn't bank on it. If one is there, perfect surprise. But I wouldn't kind of base your entire day on the fact that there will be one available, if that makes sense. Now, also going all the way up to this area, it's fantastic to see some different birds as well. Bird watching is really quite a big thing in the area itself. So make sure you keep your eyes out for some different birds of prey once you're up there. Now it's a little bit far ahead for me to give a weather update. I'll pop it on here anyway. Partly cloudy, shock horror. Highs of 18 degrees Celsius, 64 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. Obviously I'll keep you updated. And 4:30 is all aboard. So 7 a.m. to 4:30, fantastically long day to go and enjoy this port. And when you come back on board that night, our executive chef June is doing a Baltic themed dinner in the Lido. So he always goes out in every port and goes and buys the fresh fish from the area. So make sure you go up and kind of enjoy that. Ooh, so that was Skagen, Stavanger, Skagen. All the S's, SSS. Thank you. Remember, I am repeating this at 2 o'clock, so if you did want to come back and there's seats available, come at 2. I've got desk